Yo, what's up? I just saw Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This video is gonna have spoilers in it. I'm gonna talk about why I didn't really love the movie all too much. The first thing I'll say is, I really like the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I think it might be my top 5 MCU movies overall. I don't think it's an amazing, great movie, but I really liked it. The second one I thought was okay. It was entertaining, but also a big step down from the first one. The third one I also think is okay, entertaining, but still a big step down from the first one, and I think the third one is a bit too long. The first thing I want to talk about in the third one is the villain, played by Chukwudi Iwuji, I'm sure I mispronounced that, who plays the High Evolutionary. That's the name of the character in the film, and I just thought he was sort of a cheap villain in a way. Sort of gave nothing to his villain, not much character, not much to insight into his mind and like why he is the way he was. They just sort of went for the how can we make this guy hated. He is an animal torturer and he's an animal cruelty guy, and on top of that we're gonna have him blow up a planet of a bunch of happy weird looking animal people. I just felt like they went for some cheap ways to make him like, this is the evil guy, he tortures animals, well of course we're gonna hate him. Thanos is still the best, most well done villain in the MCU because they built up to him. They built up to Thanos. You can agree with Thanos. If you look at it in a grander scale, you can completely agree and understand why Thanos is doing what he's doing. He's not doing things just for the sake of, because he's a big evil guy, kind of like the High Evolutionary is in this movie. He's just torturing animals, he doesn't give a fuck, he's just blowing up this planet, he doesn't give a fuck, and he's just a big evil guy. But Thanos had reason, and he was a very intellectual, like you could listen to Thanos just sit and talk about his philosophies forever. Killmonger was another great villain that had a lot of reason and a lot of motivation behind everything he was doing, and from a certain point of view, like Thanos, you can agree with Killmonger. This villain, I just thought they went for the cheap. He tortures animals, and he's gonna blow up a planet. I didn't hate him, I thought he was okay. I've been watching Avatar The Last Airbender, rewatching Avatar The Last Airbender recently for like the 7th time, and in those 3 seasons, that trilogy in a sense, Ozai is the main character and they built up to Ozai. They had, Zuko and Azula, and they had their villains in there, but they always had their main character that they were building up to. And that was like the MCU with Thanos. But I wish when you looked at the individual trilogies in these movies, like the Captain America trilogy or like the Guardians trilogy or the Thor trilogy, I wish they were building up to a character, so you had like building up to a villain, so you had a big villain face off. But these Guardians of the Galaxy movies, it feels very episodic in a TV sitcom way. They're not building up to anything too grand with the villains or anything. When I'm watching this movie, when they go to that weird planet with the animal people, Counter Earth or whatever it's called, it just felt like you're watching the Guardians of the Galaxy crew do weird, goofy stuff and have wacky scenes where they tell jokes, and it felt like a SNL sitcom. A lot of the MCU movies feel that way, where it's just characters standing in a room telling jokes, and like that's the scene, and then it lasts 2.5 hours of our life. Guardians movies have a bit more quality to them. There's a bit more style in the filmmaking than any of the other MCU movies, and I think that's the stuff that James Gunn has always done well. His style and his flair up what would be a more boring movie of characters standing in rooms telling jokes in weird, wacky situations, which is a lot of what this movie is. All of the Rocket Raccoon stuff I loved. I thought it was the best part of the movie. I liked a lot of the Rocket shit. I found Drax funny in this movie. Normally I don't find him like super funny, but I actually thought he was really funny in this movie. Gamora, when she shot that girl in the thigh, was hilarious. There was a lot of stuff I liked in this movie. I wish fucking the stuff with Peter, like trying to like explain to this girl that like in another lifetime like they had an incredible romance, and like trying to voice that and the frustration his character felt. I found that so fascinating. I felt like they really didn't explore that nearly enough. I thought that was one of the best concepts in the movie, but instead of exploring that aspect of Peter and Gamora's relationship now and what it is now in the future and like the feeling it like instead they have lots of destruction porn in this movie. There is lots of CGI destruction porn in this movie too much for my own good. Another thing I just remembered is that particularly Nebula, played by Karen Gillan, but I feel like a lot of the characters scream a lot in this movie. This movie's very loud. It reminds me of a play. When you're watching a play and the actors on stage have to enunciate and sometimes yell so that everyone in the auditorium in the theater can hear. In this movie, it felt like the actors were doing it. It felt like they were always yelling, like as if they were yelling to an audience. When they have the microphones, I'm sure the boom mic's right there. They were just yelling so much. Peter was yelling a lot. Nebula only yells. Gamora was yelling a lot. Everyone was yelling, and I'm like, why don't you guys just talk to each other instead of screaming? It's interesting that they didn't kill anyone, because I felt like everyone on the internet was speculating who's gonna die in Guardians, Rocket's gonna die, and really they just fake killed everyone like they do in every Marvel movie. It's a fucking sitcom. Are you gonna kill Ross and Friends, or are you gonna kill Patrick and SpongeBob and not have them anymore? No, you can't kill these characters. It's a sitcom. The first post-credit scene is maybe the worst scene in the entire movie, because it's essentially the ending to the movie. But in this scene, it's showing us the new Guardians of the Galaxy led by Rocket, and you have this entire fucking movie about like animal cruelty and fighting back against the guy who is torturing these animals, and then you end this movie with Rocket Raccoon going to murder a bunch of wild animals. And he's like, yeah, but these people can't protect themselves. So he is killing animals to protect people, when people are the ones who tortured him and turned him into this thing. It's so bizarre in this movie that's entirely about animal cruelty and what happened to Rocket Raccoon, that nobody thought, hey, isn't this a weird ending where we're gonna have Rocket Raccoon kill a bunch of wild animals? Isn't that a weird fucking ending? I don't know. Overall though, I thought this movie was entertaining. I didn't think it was a great film, but it was definitely one of the better MCU movies in a while. Maybe the best one since Spider-Man No Way Home. It's the first one I've liked since Spider-Man No Way Home. Etsy.com/shop/evilbroomstick. Buy yourself a hand-painted horror hat. Thanks for watching. Peace.